What is up, everybody? Welcome to That Wannabe Film Class, the show where we love movies. So each month we choose a theme and our members bring one movie that fits that theme for us to talk about. Maybe it's a movie they love. Maybe it's a movie they have been dying to see. Maybe it's a movie they just find interesting. I'm Ben Bellevue, and I'm joined by the villain vixen, Chloe Naylor. Chloe, is our intro not accurate anymore? Because I wrote that when it was like me, you, and Logan. And I feel like me and Logan love movies. I feel like you love certain movies. Like, do you love movies as a general concept?
I mean, I'd say so, yes, but not nearly as much as you.
You love the movies that work for you. I feel like I sit back and I'm like, movies, cinema, great. And you're like, Michael Bay does some shit and I enjoy it. Loki, exactly. He's hot.
Listen,
and I respect that.
All right, I'm there. Okay, yeah.
It depends on the strength of the movie's villain. That's the metric by which we measure if Chloe enjoys the movie.
So the MCU is just trash to you.
It's not great.
I get that. Yeah. You may have heard a third voice. This is our guest for the week and month, Clark Eglinton. Clark, hello. Welcome to the podcast. How you doing?
Happy to be here.
Happy to have you,
short-time listener, first-time participant.
This is an interesting one for us because up until now, all of our guests have been people Chloe and I both know through like the same friend group, often just through the website that this podcast comes out under. You are the first person that only one of us knows. I am your friend. You and Chloe have never spoken before in your life. We're gonna have a fun time. I like that you and Chloe kind of both have like shirts with little circles in the left set part of it. It's a theme that I don't match.
Sometimes shirts have logos on the front of them. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how that goes. Clark,
I'm wearing a Deja Vu shirt. I don't know if you can tell.
Nice.
That is such a deep cut into things that no one listening to this podcast will know.
Yeah.
Deja Vu is the movie theater at was the movie theater.
R.I.P.
At our college, yeah. And they tore it down to build more student housing because Lord knows they need it.
They do. I didn't actually realize until because this shirt was not in my circulation for a long time, and I've started wearing it since in quarantine. If you look real closely, the front of the shirt has a half of a film reel, and then in the center where there would be a hole, it's actually a lion paw print.
Oh my god!
Which is a detail that I never noticed until.
That's adorable.
Yeah. Cute.
Our school's mascot is the lions. To explain this. Chloe's also wearing a Funhouse shirt. We're really hitting the Westchester grand total right there. Funhouse's offices are like right next to LMU. This is the joke I'm making here. Anyway, Clark, you're here. You're a guest. I know you. Chloe doesn't. Tell Chloe / the audience listening who you are. What do you do? What brings you here?
I met Ben outside of the Pirates of the Caribbean ride at Disneyland in California. He has no proof that I actually existed before then.
That's true.
But that was about 3 years ago.
I went to Disneyland. I'm gonna fill in my side of the story. So I got to LMU and I joined DK, a cinematic arts fraternity, and everyone was like, "Oh man, you have to meet Clark. You guys will get along so well." And Clark at this point was abroad doing school stuff in Germany, and I was like, okay, sure. And then I went to Disneyland with my friend Katie, and it was the same time that Clark was going with his family. So Katie and I get off of Pirates of the Caribbean. Clark is waiting there because he's been coordinating with Katie. And I'm like, oh, hi, nice to meet you. And then 5 seconds later, I'm meeting Clark's entire family. And he decides to open it with, this is Ben. We go way back. And I was like, so this is who this man is.
Nice.
Way back to there. I gesture behind me.
Yeah.
I don't know. What is there to say? I grew up on the East Coast. I'm from Massachusetts. I came out to LMU in Los Angeles to study film. I was there at LMU film production track from 2014 to 2018.
And what do you do now?
I do events for the Producers Guild of America.
Which is cool. That's a cool job you got.
It is cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
I've been to a PGA event. They're fun. Yeah. You took me to a PGA screening of Incredibles 2, and we were like, well, or was it solo? Or was it both? It was both.
It was probably both.
It was both. You chose some interesting movies to bring me to. Some questionable ones.
Those are both functional films.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Beginning, middle, and end.
Yeah.
Yep.
Things happen.
They do a job. A character says words and it progresses from there to the next.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, something like that.
It's great. Guys, this is April 2020. And in honor of it being April 2020, i.e. 420, we are having 420 69 month. What does that mean? Is it about weed? Are we doing stoner movies? Why is 69 involved here? No. We are theming all of our movies around 420 69, not the 420 part, the 69 part. It is 69% on Rotten Tomato movies. So far, we have talked about Time, which deserves a higher review, and Treasure Planet, which Chloe will argue deserves a higher score. I probably agree with that. I'm not so sure.
Thank you.
And now we're talking about Clark's choice. Clark, what movie have you brought for us today?
I have brought the 2009 classic dramatic comedy Funny People, directed by Judd Apatow and starring Adam Sandler, Seth Rogen, Leslie Mann, and others.
Now, Clark,
it is the longest movie ever recorded.
It's so long.
It's pretty long.
Chloe can't talk. She watched this movie at double speed.
I should tell you, I did watch half of it this morning. When I said I had to watch the rest of the movie, I meant the other half.
Oh, okay.
Good.
Yes.
I'm caught up.
Good.
Yeah, at the end of our D&D recording, it was 2, and Chloe was like, I need to go watch the movie. And I was like, what?
The other half.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. That makes a lot more sense.
You space it out. You watched 2 hours yesterday, 2 hours today.
Exactly. And then I'm like, okay, I watched half of the movie.
Legitimately, this movie, I was watching downstairs with my sister in the room. I started at 5 and I finished at 9 because my sister had things that interrupted the situation. Then my mom came back. She interrupted the situation. It took me forever. It was excruciating.
It's a long movie.
It is a long movie. Clark, tell us about why you chose this movie.
There were a couple different points of interest when because I originally, I think I texted you about Babel.
You did text me about Babel. You were babbling about
which
it.
Is another interesting one, another long movie that I saw for an international film class a while back. And I remember liking it enough. Like, I think I had to write a paper on it. But then when I was going down the list of other movies that had 69% on Rotten Tomatoes, I think the reason that I swung towards Funny People, I'm interested in Judd Apatow.
Sure.
As a director, as a producer, as like a gatekeeper of a lot of modern comedy stars. I'm interested in Adam Sandler, especially because of Uncut Gems.
Yeah.
I think that definitely sparked just what an interesting career. And I haven't seen a ton of his movies. I feel like a lot of the ones that I've seen are the ones that have like a higher reputation.
I've seen Grown Ups a lot.
I have not seen
a lot. So many times.
But I'm also this film, I almost watched all of it back in 2017.
Okay.
Because I was in my senior thesis production class and I was making a film about a stand-up comedian, and we had to sort of look at films that we could potentially pull from that were similar in some way to our projects, and Funny People came up in discussion.
What was your film called? Funny Head?
It was called Funny Head.
Yeah.
I was working with our screenwriter. He proposed the title. We stuck with it. But yeah, I watched like about half of this movie, and it didn't strike me as something that I would stylistically pull from, because it's not a super stylized movie in the way that it's directed or shot. So but I was interested enough to sort of like, let's go back into it. Let's unpack this movie.
Chloe, did you have any knowledge of this movie going into it? Did you have any like impressions? Did you see Adam Sandler and go, oh boy, Adam Sandler?
Pretty much. I was like, oh, comedy Adam Sandler should be a fun time. I know what I'm in for.
How experienced are you with Adam Sandler? Like, what movies have you seen of his? What do you think of his movies?
God, so many. My dad watches them all the time. Some are good, some are less than good. He makes
a lot of dad movies, for sure.
He does. Like, Happy Gilmore and Billy Madison are on the TV all the time.
The iconics.
Oh, yeah, truly.
He has the What's the one with Dylan and Cole Sprouse? It's oh god, I can't think of the name of it right now. Big Daddy.
Adam Sandler was in The Sweet Life? Oh
no, Big Daddy is like the movie with like where he like has the kid he takes care of, and that kid is Dylan and Cole Sprouse, alternating in and out.
Oh,
that's fun.
Okay.
Yeah. That's like,
and then there's a twist in the third act where there actually were two kids the whole time.
Yeah, he's just a really, really, really bad parent, and he was told that in the beginning and then just forgot.
It's a loose remake of The Comedy of Errors by Shakespeare.
Nice.
Oh, I love that play. That was a good reference.
God.
Thank you.
The good Comedy of Errors is so good. I saw
one of those Shakespeare B-list tracks.
I saw a production of The Comedy of Errors in San Diego it was set in like 1920s New Orleans. Nice. And the lead actor was Dennis from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Okay.
It was great. It was so good. He's such a good actor. Anyway,
we did it when I was a freshman in high school, and I was one of the Dromios. And we did Vegas. It wasn't really like a specific time period, but I was wearing like a blue tracksuit and a platinum blonde, like Dennis Rodman curly wig with a baseball hat. Because my twin was a girl.
Okay, so they had like two different actors playing the twins then. Yeah,
we did, and
interesting.
But I don't know. I was just like between like the clothing and like the hair, like androgynous enough that it wasn't super apparent. Mm-hmm. Like obviously we were different, but for the production it worked.
Yeah. So going back to Chloe just for a second. So you've seen Adam Sandler.
Yes.
Is your impression of like, oh, this is an Adam Sandler movie, like, oh, I'm probably not going to like this, like, oh, maybe I'll like it? Because I know for me, generally, if someone says it's an Adam Sandler movie and it isn't Billy Madison, Happy Gilmore, like 90s era Adam Sandler, my assumption is like, this is probably going to be bad.
Honestly, yeah, it's a hit or miss, but the more recent it is, it's usually probably not going to be fantastic.
Yeah, I definitely feel like after maybe Punch Drunk Love, my assumption with any Adam Sandler movie until Uncut Gems is I don't think I'll like this.
Pretty much.
And that was kind of where I was with this movie too. Like I knew it was Judd Apatow, and I recognize Judd Apatow as a great, like a well-respected creator who has made good movies that I don't really remember despite having seen ages ago. But it's not a Judd Apatow movie people talk about much. And It's Adam Sandler. So I was like, this will be interesting. We'll see how this goes.
Yeah.
I think, though, Apatow, especially when it's someone that he's good friends with, and certainly he has a long history with Adam Sandler, he tends to bring out the best of them.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't consider myself to be a huge Amy Schumer fan, but I think Trainwreck is excellent. I'm very curious to see what he does with Pete Davidson. Because I'm not a big Pete Davidson
making that
guy.
New movie.
It's done. It's supposed to come out this summer. Knock on wood.
We'll see.
Hopefully we'll see it in some form, but I'm curious to see what
movies don't come out anymore. They don't exist.
No, they don't.
They really don't. Oh God, now I'm thinking about the loss of Wonder Woman and Into the Woods. Not Into the Woods, In the Heights. Oof.
Into the Woods.
Into the Woods. I'm so disappointed.
Which came out, but wasn't great.
I mean, the second you cast James Corden, you're kind of asking to not be good. This is my call out post.
Fair.
Thank you. So before we dive into what this movie's about, let's talk a little bit about the crew. Obviously, as we've mentioned, this movie is written, directed, and produced by Judd Apatow. He started his career as a stand-up at the age of 17. He went to USC to study screenwriting before dropping out. He ended up being a roommate with Adam Sandler in the 80s. They shared an apartment, so they really do have like a very long history together. He was hired as a writer for the 91 Grammy Awards and went on to produce comedy specials after that. He co-created the Emmy-winning Ben Stiller Show and then went to be a writer for the Larry Sanders Show, which also got him nominations for Emmys. He has uncredited rewrites on Liar Liar, Bruce Almighty, Happy Gilmore, and The Wedding Singer. And so like I was kind of talking with you about this earlier, Chloe, where like writing credit is kind of complicated. So the Writers Guild only gives you writing credit if you write a certain amount of a script. So there are a lot of people who do writing work for scripts that don't get like official credit for it. And that just means like you won't see them in the title. It doesn't mean that like the director can come out and be like, oh yeah, this person helped me. Like again, Ryan Coogler came out and was like, yeah, I got help from Donald Glover with jokes for Black Panther, but it wasn't enough to be credited, quote unquote.
Right.
This is all production stuff. This is Clark's area. Anyway, he is the writer-director for 40-Year-Old Virgin, Knocked Up, This Is 40, Trainwreck, and this movie, obviously. He's also the writer for Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story, a movie I've never seen, but I've heard very good things about. He also wrote Pineapple Express's story. He's written other things. He is the co-creator of Love on Netflix, which has Jillian something from Community. I can never remember her last name.
Jacobs.
Jillian Jacobs. Good job. See? Got another
I'm watching
person.
Community. I'm for the first time. Crazy
really?
Watching through it.
Ooh, how Chloe, have you seen Community?
Nope.
Okay. How far into Community are you, Clark?
Season 4, and it's noticeable.
Yeah, the Ghastly season. So, for audiences, if you don't know, after season 3, the creator of Community, Dan Harmon, also creator of Rick and Morty, Community is his better show. Don't at me.
And who has a cameo appearance in Funny People?
Does he?
Yes. Oh, we'll get there.
Wait. Oh my God. Wait.
Yeah.
I think I know when it is. Is he one of the reporters?
Yeah, one of the paparazzis at the airport or wherever they... Yeah.
Ooh. Okay. I definitely thought that was Judd Apatow.
No, I don't think he's in this.
I saw that. You're right. That definitely was Dan Harmon. I saw it, and because my mind was in a Judd Apatow mindset, and because it's like old enough, I was like, oh, I think that must be a Judd Apatow cameo. That's definitely Dan Harmon. You're right. Okay.
Yep.
Shout out to Dan Harmon. Yeah, he created Community, and then he got fired after season 3, which is a tragedy. And then season 4 was bad. And then he came back for season 5 and 6, but season 5 and 6 are not as good as the original 3 seasons, which are phenomenal.
I'm trying to keep an open mind.
They're not bad. Like, it's not that season 5 and 6 are bad. It's just that season 1 through 3 are some of the best comedy television I've ever seen.
Yep.
So it's like, it's just hard to regain that groove. But also, I've watched maybe 3 episodes of it so far because I'm rewatching it because it's on Netflix now. And I'm like, I'm bored. And the beginning of season 1 is not talked about as like the height of Community. Generally, the consensus is, oh, late season 1, it gets really, really good. But early Community is still good. Like, the first few episodes have some really good, smart comedy.
It's really good. I think that people associate the peak of Community with them starting being really subversive and weird, sort of parodying the half-hour TV show. Like once they start genre hopping and once they start doing these weird experiments, the first half of season 1 is a really tight traditional sitcom. More
exactly. And then at the end, they're like, hey, it's a mob episode, but the money is chicken fingers. And hey, it's an action movie, but with paintball at a community college.
Here's your zombie episode.
There's a zombie episode. Chloe, you really need to watch Community.
Okay.
Yeah. Wait, we were on Love, though. Are you ramping up to Freaks and Geeks?
I am ramping up to Freaks and Geeks.
Okay. Ramp.
Because Freaks and Geeks is also excellent. So he's the director for Crashing, which is another like more modern one. I'm not a big Love fan, by the way. Just throwing that out there right now because I've seen some of it. And then he's an executive producer of Freaks and Geeks, which is such a fucking good show. It's so good. Chloe, have you seen Freaks and Geeks?
No.
I need to make you watch good comedy. Clark, I know you've watched a couple of these episodes, but I don't think you've seen this episode. Wait, did you see the Big Sick episode?
That was the one I listened to.
Okay.
Nice.
So you know that she doesn't know that Chicago has comedy.
Sorry, what?
Chloe
this is the first time hearing this.
And
Chicago has comedy?
Oh my fucking God.
I thought their export was deep dish pizza.
I'm not alone.
Man, what are you talking about?
Okay, you John Mulaney light motherfucker.
Okay. Let's move on. We're 22 minutes in.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I know what I'm doing. So he created those shows. He was like executive producer of Freaks and Geeks, which is excellent, and also was the start of like James Franco and Seth Rogen and the guy from How I Met Your Mother, whose name I can never remember, Jason Segel, that's his name, and Busy Phillips and Linda Cardellini and a bunch of other people. A crazy number of people got started on Freaks and Geeks. It's genuinely absurdly impressive. He also was a producer for Anchorman, Talladega Nights, Superbad, Forgetting Sarah Marshall, Bridesmaids, The Big Sick. Obviously, we've mentioned that before because we had a podcast about it. Well, check that out if you want to. Chloe will tell you why she doesn't know that Chicago is comedy. And
I'm sorry, what? Ben,
what
are you talking about?
Never stopping. Our cast includes Adam Sandler as George Simmons. Adam Sandler got his start with small TV and film roles, along with comedy clubs in the 80s. He was hired as a writer for SNL in 1990 and became an actor for SNL a year after that. His big film break was Billy Madison in 1995. Convenient for him because SNL fired him the same year. He then created Happy Madison Productions in 99, which is a combination of Happy Gilmore and Billy Madison, his two biggest movies up until that in terms of name. And then he gained critical appreciation for Punch Drunk Love, did a bunch of other shit that was not great. Grown Ups, Blended, Pixels, Jack and Jill, so on and so forth. He came back to drama in 2017 with Meyerowitz Stories from the writer-director of Marriage Story and the upcoming Barbie movie, Noah Baumbach. And he then went on to do Uncut Gems, which won him awards. The Film Independent Spirit Awards gave him an award for that. Look at him go.
Not nearly enough awards.
He was also considered for Rocket Raccoon.
Oh, boy.
I see it.
Yeah.
I see it too, honestly.
I could.
Yeah.
I wouldn't hate that.
No.
Depends.
Next up, we have Seth Rogen as Ira Wright. He auditioned for an open casting call for Freaks and Geeks when he was 16 years old. At this point in time, both of his family had lost their jobs. Actually, no. One parent lost their job. Other parent just left their job for some fucking reason. I'm assuming one left their job and then the other lost their job. I don't know. Point is, he got the job and became basically his family's main breadwinner. They all moved out to LA. He became part of Apatow's frat pack, which included Paul Rudd and Steve Carell. His breakout role was in Knocked Up, another Apatow-directed movie. He has roles in 50-50, Neighbors, Steve Jobs, Disaster Artist, and Long Shot. And he's also a writer with collaborator Evan Goldberg, his childhood friend. They have uncredited writing work on Bad Boys 2. Oh. So Michael Bay somehow keeps popping up.
Love to see it.
He's got a pretty good role in 40-Year-Old Virgin as well. He and Paul Rudd are kind of in the roles that Jonah Hill and Jason Schwartzman are in
I don't remember 40-Year-Old Virgin at all. So I know he was in it, but the way they talked about it on Wikipedia, I was like, oh, that sounds like it was a small role. But to be fair, they also had to Jonah Hill have a small role in this.
He's got the You Know How I Know You're Gay scene with Paul Rudd.
I have no memory of any of this.
It's like one of the scenes where they kind of just let the camera roll and they're just improvising back and forth.
Oh, yes, the Judd Apatow classic.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. He also wrote for Superbad, Pineapple Express, Green Hornet, This Is the End, which he also directed, and Preacher, the AMC show with Tony Stark's dad / Amanda Seyfried's husband, fiance from Mamma Mia. Now I'm thinking about Mamma Mia. Anyway.
Here we go again.
Oh my God. Also, the internet decided he's hot now. Did you guys see that? Past year, they were like, hey, Seth Rogen, he's hot. He's a daddy.
He's a dad.
There was a photo of him on the beach, and everyone was
I'm gonna pull up my notes because this. I think it was during the first stand-up scene that Gracie says either Seth Rogen or David Hyde Pierce is probably my most out there celebrity crush. So I just had to live with that for the rest of the.
I get it. I feel like modern Seth Rogen is kind of hot. I understand the appeal.
She was talking about 2009 Seth Rogen.
That's a strange choice, Gracie.
Just
I will pass that along.
If it makes you feel better, I was watching Curious George the movie, and Ava said the man in the yellow hat could get it.
Man with the yellow hat?
Shut the fuck up. The man in the yellow hat is hot. He could get it.
That's what we call a Freudian slip.
Yeah. So at least take what you can get, man.
Oh, sure. I'm going to try to style myself after Seth Rogen.
Okay, that's not
2009 Seth Rogen.
Okay, that seems like an unhealthy decision. We also have Leslie Mann as Laura. She studied comedy at the Groundlings. Her first starring role was in The Cable Guy, a Jim Carrey movie. This is also where she meets her future husband. Now, Clark, I know you know who her future husband is. Chloe, do you know who her future husband is?
Future husband.
I don't know.
Leslie Mann is married to Judd Apatow, writer, director of this movie.
Interesting. Okay.
And her kids in the movie are their kids.
Yeah, the kids in the movie are also their kids.
Wow.
Yeah, so like Judd Apatow's living the life. You know, shoot a movie, be on set, hang out with your wife and kids.
That's
nothing
nice.
but respect, man. Yeah, right? She also has roles in George of the Jungle as George's love interest. She's in Big Daddy, and she's in 40-Year-Old Virgin. She gained acclaim for her starring roles in Knocked Up and the continuation of Knocked Up, This Is 40. We have Eric Bana as Clark, her husband in the movie. He did stand up on an Australian Tonight Show. From there, he joined a sketch show for 4 years. Notable movies he's done: Hulk, where he played Bruce Banner, which I did not know. He was in Troy opposite Brad Pitt. He was the lead in Time Traveler's Wife. Somehow, every movie is connected to another movie. That's the thing I've learned from making this podcast. Is like the more movies we talk about, the more movies I'm like, oh yeah, and this movie connects to this movie. Like Judd Apatow produced The Big Sick. Eric Bana was in a movie about time travel with Rachel McAdams. Wonder what kind of concept that is.
Wow.
Everything.
He was in a movie about time travel with Chris Pine as well.
Yes, you're right. He was in Star Trek where he played the villain opposite Chris Pine.
Yep.
We also have Jason Schwartzman as Mark Taylor Jackson. His first appearance was in Rushmore, the Wes Anderson movie, and he's basically gone on to just do every Wes Anderson movie. He was also in Scott Pilgrim vs. the World as Gideon, the big bad. Oh. He's also been in Marie Antoinette and Klaus. Have you guys seen Klaus?
No.
It's so good. It's so good. I love it so much.
From you.
He's the voice of Jesper, the lead in Klaus. I love that movie. We have Jonah Hill as Leo Koenig. Jonah Hill is the brother of Beanie Feldstein. I don't know if I said her name right. I also am not sure I got her name right because I definitely didn't write that note down. But Beanie is the friend of Saoirse Ronan in Lady Bird, and she's the co-lead, I guess, with Caitlin Dever in Booksmart. You could argue she's technically the main character. It's debatable. Like, she's either the main character. Like, I think it's very similar to the dynamic of like Ira versus George in this movie, where it's like they're kind of both main characters. You can't really give it to one over the other.
A lot of people, you know, when Booksmart was first coming out, were comparing it like almost as like the female Superbad.
Superbad, yeah.
And it's not too far off, but you know, you have Jonah Hill and Michael Cera, and Beanie Feldstein and Caitlin Dever on the other hand.
Yep. Yeah. His film debut was in I Heart Huckabees after Dustin Hoffman's friends or Dustin Hoffman's kids, who were friends of Jonah Hill, urged him to audition. So those connections, man. He built out his career with small roles in Apatow and Sandler movies, 40-Year-Old Virgin, Click, and Knocked Up. His big break was Superbad, which you just referenced. And then he pivoted to more like drama/dramedy movies. He was in Moneyball, and then Django, Wolf of Wall Street. He just did Maniac on TV. Notably, he's also been in How to Train Your Dragon, 21 Jump Street, and 22 Jump Street, and he wrote and directed mid-90s. We finally have Aubrey Plaza as Daisy. She is obviously known for Parks and Recreation and then everything she did after that. Aziz Ansari as Randy Springs, also known for Parks and Recreation and Master of None and stand-up and sexual assault allegations that happened.
Yeah.
And finally, we have Maude Apatow as Mabel. She is one of Judd's kids. She's the older girl in the movie, and she most recently was in Euphoria. And we have Iris Apatow as the younger sister. That is the crew. All the people putting this thing together. Not all of them. There's way more. Chloe, what the fuck happens in this movie?
God, so much, because the movie's so long.
It's so long.
So long. So we start off in a nice home video of a young Adam Sandler making prank calls. Everyone else in the room loses their fucking minds. I actually enjoy this. It's kind of funny. That was on accident, but this is going to continue to happen.
I know.
Yeah. Flash forward to present day, old fart Adam Sandler living in his big old mansion and getting stopped everywhere by his adoring fans because he's a popular actor, comedian dude. He's at his doctor's office, finds out he has a form of leukemia, and you're just not looking too hot. That's cool for him. He goes through the motions, watches his old comedy specials and other old memories, Homie lives a pretty sad life, doesn't really have any human connections, and he decides to do the recovery that has like an 8% success rate, so great odds there.
He's basically playing himself.
What?
Adam Sandler is basically playing himself.
Pretty much.
Which I feel like...
I think that's one of the strongest things in this movie. Like meta Adam Sandler history.
I also think that's like... Maybe I'm just like buying into things too much, but I love when movies are like, hey, this big celebrity who you kind of don't respect, now they're going to play themselves and sad. Yeah. And I'm like,
sure.
Yeah, you got me. This works.
Fair.
The amount that they're able to draw from both the real home video footage of Adam Sandler and some of his past stand-up, and with Leslie Mann's like former roles as well, and then also weaving in sort of the fake movie history. It's pretty seamless. I like it a lot.
Yeah,
like
it really is, yeah.
Where he's watching all of the TVs and he's got like the fake baby movie on one screen, but then actual Adam Sandler stand up on the other screen.
And you have the mermaid movie, and it's like, this all feels like Adam Sandler content. This feels like movies he would have made.
I noticed a couple of his posters had Elizabeth Banks as his co-star. So she this universe's Drew Barrymore.
Okay.
That checks out. That makes sense.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
She doesn't quite have Drew Barrymore's illustrious family history, but you know.
I just mean like the de facto Adam Sandler co-star.
Yeah, it seems like
they've done at least.
Or they just got Elizabeth Banks to do this for a day, and they were like, "Guess she stars a lot."
Yeah,
that's true.
Wild that she never actually appears in the movie.
It is. It's really weird that like these are really like they shot these scenes. They shot these fake scenes with real actors who they had to have paid.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
But no, it's fine. So he decides to go back to his roots of doing stand-up comedy, and I brace for the worst. Cut to Ira and his roommates Jonah Hill and Mark, and they're all aspiring comedians and also trying to awkwardly flirt with Aubrey Plaza, which, same, but Mark seems to be the only successful one with a TV show and all that.
The actual confidence.
Bad
does
haircut,
help.
though.
That's true.
Terrible.
Sorry, Jason.
At the comedy club, George unexpectedly shows up to perform, and Ira has to suddenly follow an incredible act like that, and does so by making fun of George's morbid routine. Great. George calls him the next day, and he's like, hey, you want to write jokes for me? And for this MySpace event that we're attending now? Oh man, the movie's suddenly very dated. MySpace.
I mean, I think it was dated when they made a Robin Williams suicide joke.
Yeah, that was
extremely dark.
That was so intense.
Oh yeah, I heard that. I was like, ooh, boy, okay.
Clark, you were saying like there were other jokes that were dated too right before that, and I definitely forgot all of them the second the Robin Williams joke happened.
I was just up and coming Aziz Ansari.
That's true.
I mean, Jonah Hill makes a very dark domestic abuse joke.
That's true.
And then Seth Rogen follows it up with the Robin Williams suicide joke. And then you launch into the MySpace section. So it's like, if you didn't know when this movie came out, here's 2009 just winding up and just, you're in it now.
Pretty much.
Sure.
Yeah. Anyway, Chloe, what happens next?
Yeah. So George has Ira follow the moving performance by James Taylor to open for him so he doesn't have to follow it, in which he just tells all the jokes that he just wrote. But I'm cringing this whole time, but overall the event goes well. And I'm just cringing at the stand-up in the following after party where George just fucks both girls that they brought home. Okay.
Also, that threw me off because they got in a plane to go to MySpace, right?
They did. They got on a jet.
Did they fly the girls back with them? Where did they go after?
They're like, she went home. I'm like, okay, you live nearby then?
It's the saying that home is where the indoor living room pool is.
That's fair.
Fair.
I would live there. I looked up where MySpace is based. And currently, it's based in Beverly Hills. Now, I don't know if it's always been based in Beverly Hills. But
because it's a studio apartment. The entire operations are run out of like someone's tiny. And
it's not like
maybe it's a 1-bedroom.
It's not like it's their own studio apartment either. It's like they're using Tom's current studio apartment.
Right.
That's not true. Tom is rich as fuck still.
No.
But my question is it scenario 1 in which they flew to like Silicon Valley, picked these girls up, and then flew back with them? Or is it scenario 2 where they flew to Beverly Hills? I have so many questions.
Let's not get hung up on the details. This is an Adam Sandler movie.
It's true.
So George hires Ira as an assistant, also tells him that he's sick, to which he like immediately goes and tells his roommates, of course, as you do. Ira hangs out with George, they workshop jokes, perform stand-up. Ira makes him a playlist, which is just a pure declaration of love right there.
It's true.
Yeah. He attends his doctor appointments where they find out his condition's it's not doing too well. Getting kind of worse. Ira gets back home, find out his roommate Mark fucked Aubrey Plaza even after Ira called dibs. Feels a bit yucky. So we're moving on.
Well, Mark does a lot, not Mark. Ira does a lot of things in this scene.
There's a lot of things.
That aren't great things.
No.
Like, I understand him being like, hey, you're the more confident one. Mm-hmm. I know you're like better at flirting with girls. Could you just like, I like this girl, could you not? But he did also agree to the 10 days thing.
Mm-hmm.
He may not have liked it, but he did agree. But more importantly, he was very prudish about her sleeping with his roommate.
I know.
Especially because
he's got like, it's kind of understated, but he's got this, selfish kind of possessive streak in this movie. Because first he throws Jonah Hill under the bus.
Mm-hmm.
Sandler is interested in both of them, and he right away discounts Jonah Hill. And then also, this like weird double standard that he holds Aubrey Plaza to later. And he does, like the Thanksgiving scene later on, he does half reckon with both.
True.
But I like that the movie doesn't say like, oh, this is fine.
Yeah, it doesn't justify him. It just happens, so briefly in this very bloated film that, it's not this huge turning point for him that he must reckon with. It's kind of just a thing that happens.
And if he was just like, I get it if he was like, hey, I'm interested in you. I want to go on this date with you. It's going to be really weird for me if we start dating and we're together to know that my roommate who is sleeping like a room over from me, not even a room over because I'm sleeping on the couch in the living room, has had sex with you.
Yeah.
I understand that feeling, but he doesn't make it about that. He's like, I didn't think you were someone who would like sleep around this soon. And I was like, Ira, why?
Not great.
You're showing your ankles. How harlot.
God.
You're seen in the company of another man.
How dare you?
You spoke kindly to him.
And he was Schwartzman.
The gods will not act favorably upon this.
You treated Schwartzman like a person.
Unheard of. Oh, man. So Ira tells George that he's like, you should tell people that you're sick. Okay, fair. He starts doing that. And his ex-fiancée, Laura, comes back and she cries. Tells him she regrets leaving him, even though he cheated on her. But her current husband is always cheating on her, too, when he goes on business trips. It's a very messy thing.
Mm-hmm.
George revisits his doctor and finds out he's part of that 8%. He's in remission. But there's still a chance it might come back. But it's looking good right now. Now he's in a whack place, doesn't really know what to do. But he's like, you know what? I'm going to call Laura. We're going to be a thing, but I will not be truthful. I will not tell her I'm getting better. That's a great way to start a relationship. Mm-hmm.
Super proud of him.
Oh, yeah. George and Ira head back to San Francisco to perform. Laura meets them there, and Ira tells her that, hey, George is actually getting better. She invites the boys up to her house where they meet her daughters, and George and Laura fuck off to fuck. Ira hangs out in colors with the girls and tells them, hey, George is better. Then Clark, Laura's husband, unexpectedly comes home, and Laura's like, all right, hey, let's keep lying. George is still sick, so he doesn't suspect that I'm cheating. Really fun. The next morning, Clark gives George an emotional and tearful goodbye, and the kids are like, but wait, George isn't sick anymore. Rose is up, so Laura's immediately like, well, he's not completely better. Turns it around, calls her husband enough for his infidelity. He leaves, and she decides that she's just gonna leave him too. And then Ira, being the only character with morals, apparently tells George that he should leave because he probably shouldn't be ruining a 12-year marriage. George is like, just shut up or I'll fire you. Cool. Awesome.
Healthy.
The next day, group watches Laura's daughter perform Cats. I wasn't expecting.
Woo!
Great.
Always relevant.
Always relevant. It's always around. We'll never
It's
escape.
eternal.
We will never escape Cats.
There's a lot.
Why didn't Tom Hooper give Judd Apatow a little cameo in Cats?
You're right.
Yeah.
This is Tom Hooper's greatest mistake. Nothing else.
Truly. You can distill the entire movie down. If he had just let Judd Apatow appear, we could have saved his entire endeavor. Hashtag release the mod
flopped.
My God.
This movie has a lot of actors just watching themselves.
Oh, yeah. How can you do that?
Or like watching other actors on screen. There's a lot of characters just watching movies / videos.
Just like life.
Pretty much.
Yeah, it's true.
Wow. Who knew this would be the most realistic movie yet?
Judd Apatow is the voice of the people.
Yeah, you're right.
Also, I was watching this movie with my sister, and throughout the entirety of this like sequence where, Eric Bana, Clark, comes back and he's like vibing with George and why can't I think of her name right now? The mom. Leslie Mann, thank you. And Leslie Mann is like got the thing with George going on and she's like lying. And my sister was just like, she fucked up. He's much prettier in regards to, of course, Clark.
Yeah.
And then there's the part later when George is like, I'm so much better than this idiot. And my sister just started laughing. And that amused me. So I thought I'd convey this to the audiences at home. And also you too.
Thanks, man.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm providing important context and content here.
Oh, man.
Also, at that point, I've been watching this movie for 3.5 hours and I wanted a break.
Yeah,
so
come on. Got to finish up the recap. We've only got 45 minutes left.
Jeez, yeah, right?
Oh my God.
Let's see. Daughter performs Cats. George laughs at it, which of course offends Laura. But that's fine. She leaves for the airport.
How could he laugh at the best big screen cat adaptation?
Jeez, yeah, something.
By process of elimination.
Yeah.
She leaves for the airport to tell her husband that she's leaving him, and Ira lies and goes off to follow her.
This is the point where I'm like, what if Ira and Laura fall in love?
I know. I thought that was going to happen.
I'd watch it. That was kind of why I wanted to
extend the movie by another hour. Let that play out.
Why not?
It just make it a limited series, and it ends up becoming Ira and Laura's love story.
Pretty much.
I'd watch it.
This is also like that scene is kind of a weird twist on the rom-com stop them at the airport trope.
That's why it gave me that vibe. And then I was like, oh, is this a fucking rom-com? Like just like ending with the assistant doing all the rom-com work?
Be wild.
Not a bad twist, kind of.
It isn't, honestly.
Wouldn't be terrible.
It's a good use of an assistant.
But that doesn't happen. Clark wants to give their marriage another chance. She agrees, and she just says, I was just flirting with him because he's dying,
Mm-hmm.
Great. But then Clark catches Ira sneaking away, and then Laura has to admit that she did indeed sleep with George. Good job.
Oh, she only went down on him, which Ira seems, or no, George only went down on her, which Ira seems to think is worse.
Yeah.
For some reason, feel like he's wrong about that.
Just still bad, but not.
It's still bad. Is it worse?
Look. He shouldn't be upset that he slept with her. He should be upset that he had a laugh with her.
You cut out halfway through that sentence. I do not know what joke you made, but you look very proud.
I said he shouldn't be upset that he slept with her. He should be upset that he had a laugh with her. Those are the standards that we reached in Marriage Story this year.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's funnier because I had to say it twice.
Yeah. You can't explain the joke.
So the joke here is...
Comedy!
Funny.
Kinda.
I knew that was coming.
Yeah, you knew it. Spec of the house, Clark chases George out. They fight. They're throwing punches and slaps. And George asks Laura to, explain, but then she's like, he's my husband, sides with him. Good on her. So George is upset, and Ira for betraying him, and then fires him, and Ira's like, you're an insensitive dick and haven't learned anything. Fuck you.
Which is accurate.
Pretty much. So Ira goes back to his old job in performing at the comedy club, and then George goes to see him be a much better, more confident performer, and then meets him at his job the next day. He's like, I'm not sick. I need an attitude readjustment, though. And then he's shows him the jokes that he wrote and seeing yeah, I'm trying to be a better person. Haha, right. The end.
And then we crane shot away, kind of. Well, we pull back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's cute. It becomes a rom-com with Ira and George.
Yeah.
Which is what it always was, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. But it fully leans into it. She's like, yeah, this is what we are. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, nice. Cute. Guys, this was Funny People.
Long.
It was very long.
Yeah.
What are our initial thoughts coming out of this movie?
It's
Chloe,
over,
what did you think? Yeah, that was my reaction as well. I was just like, I've been watching this for so long. This movie is so long.
Thank God. Yes.
Clark, what were you thinking?
So, as someone who's familiar with Judd Apatow as a director, there was a time when I was just really interested in diving into everything that he's made, and I didn't come back to finishing Funny People. But I've seen 40-Year-Old Virgin, I like it. I've seen Knocked Up, and I like it. This sort of extra half an hour to 45-minute extension of the end of the movie is something that he does in all of the movies that he directs. It's not so much in the movies that he produces, even if they do have his fingerprints all over them, even something that he's really involved in, And I think it's both a strength and a weakness, because he wants these characters to appear as human as possible, which sometimes means not just wrapping up their stories just because that's when the movie's over. He wants them to naturally extend. But I feel like this is the movie where that extension of the film hurts it the most.
It really went
And
on.
I don't want to take it away from all of the really good stuff that's in this, because I think that the movie that's about George and Ira is a good movie.
So the first half.
But then it returns too. There's a couple really good scenes of them when they're at Leslie Mann's house, and they bicker. They have that argument in the bedroom that I think is really good. They have the falling out in the car on the drive back. It's. I think overall it's stronger than it is weak. It's just, that this sequence, this plot that happens with Leslie Mann and at her house, it's not a clean enough extension of the original movie.
It feels like you just get this very, very, very long sequence of I'm not saying the concept of, this character tries to reckon with his past love decisions. Because obviously, when you have the character who's pulled away from the world, who's kind of enveloped in their wealth and their kind of shittiness, the symbol of who they've hurt and what they've lost makes sense. But we spend so much time on it for a plot that has very little to really do with you could have a couple scenes of him thinking something's going to happen, and then her letting that kind of happen a bit because she thinks he's dying, and then she finds out he's not, and then she's like, no, I'm not leaving my husband for you. And then you could still have the exact same general through line, I think, without
through line.
Okay. Without
40-Year-Old Virgin, though, it's, the movie, it's a very clear problem. The guy's a 40-year-old virgin. His friends want to help him lose his virginity. He has this romance with Catherine Keener, and they agree to a period where they're not going to sleep together. And then that period is up. She wants to have sex with him. He gets freaked out and gets cold feet because now he's in love with her and he's afraid of disappointing her and losing her. And then that's when you have this, the Apatow fourth act
Yeah.
Is what I'll just call it.
Sure, that's good term, I think.
Yeah, but in that case, it's a natural extension of the conflict that's been driving the movie forward the whole time. And Knocked Up is like a little bit more traditional, but it's very similar to The Big Sick, where the characters break up at one point, and normal rom-coms would dictate that they get back together right away, but they don't, and they spend some time apart, and then they don't come back together until the baby's actually being born at the end of Knocked Up. Spoilers. But again, like natural extension of what the movie has been about this entire time. And Funny People's, it's a cousin of the plot that we've been watching the whole time.
It's semi-related.
I think that if you had peppered the Leslie Mann story and subplot through more of the first 90 minutes of the film, and then you still had a 20-25 minute climax that happens at her house with her family, that would still be a good way to have this contained sequence where he has to reconcile with this relationship and about potentially breaking apart this family. But it wouldn't feel so removed because, maybe we spent more time with her.
Because like up until this point, it feels like so much of it's about like getting back into comedy and his relationship with Ira and like what he's going to do.
And Ira's relationships, like it's a true two-hander. It's because he's got a lot going on too. Yeah,
I agree with you. So this brings us to our first like general question of this. What are our favorite scenes? We're going to go one at a time, one movie, or one scene. You get the general concept. Clark, as the guest of honor, the man bringing us this movie, what is your first favorite scene in this movie?
I like the scene in the kitchen where Sandler reveals to Rogan that he's sick. And he has the little fake out where he asks him to kill him. And Rogan actually sounds like he's going to do it. I think that's just a great capsule of the chemistry between those two actors. I think it's a funny just premise for a little scene. And it also really, it kicks off their relationship. As you say, it's sort of like a rom-com between the two of them. And like, that's a very important scene with the two of them working together.
Yeah, that's one of my scenes too. And I fully agree where it's like, I think it's also my favorite outside of like the stand-up comedy. I think it's the funniest Adam Sandler is in this movie because it feels like the perfect balance of like his kind of eccentricity without being so weird that you're kind of put off by it, where it's like, this is like a weird but funny, enjoyable joke. And he's not like really hamming it up with his voiceovers to try and be funny. It's just like, I think it hits his brand perfectly in the center.
Yeah.
Chloe, what's your first scene?
I almost wrote that down too, but
nice.
Ira tells his roommates that George is dying, and then Mark like opens up, my grandfather died. The candle went out because he went to heaven. Jonah Hill's like, actually, he went to hell.
Yeah, that was good too.
I like that scene a lot. Made me laugh.
It's also one of many scenes that makes me miss Los Angeles so much.
Yes, I was gonna say that.
This movie,
like the perfect part of a hiking path where you can see both the Hollywood sign and downtown.
Yeah, it's so. This movie has so much LA just like baked into its DNA, and I realize that's like more of a thing for me and Clark than it is for you, Chloe, because you've been to LA like what, once, twice?
I want to say twice.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a very short sequence where he's playing football with his like groundskeepers in their garden. Maybe it was basketball. Yeah. He's wearing a Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles shirt.
Yes. The Roscoe's call out. Clark and I were talking about this before we started recording, but at one point you can see the intersection of where they live. So I was like curious. So I Googled where that intersection was, and it's like mid Hollywood. It's right next to Hollywood Forever Cemetery, which is a cemetery in Los Angeles where this company Cinespia plays movies that they screen outdoors. So you like sit in the cemetery and watch movies projection onto a screen. And I've never been, but I've heard it's very, very cool. A friend of Clark and I's goes all the time. Catherine, shout out to her. And I was like, man, these guys live in the dream. Nice apartment, close to Hollywood. They're right on top of a good food place. Oh, they're on top of crap, I can't think of the name of the restaurant. based on Cafe Gratitude. There's a Cafe Gratitude like right under them. I'm just like, I want their apartment.
Okay, sure.
Give it to me.
Nice.
These are all very deep cut LA things I'm saying right now.
100%. Yep.
Yeah. Chloe's like, yes, California.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sure.
Totally. Can't go there now, but yeah.
None of us can.
It's really
Clark,
exciting.
do you miss LA despite being in LA right now? I feel like you must.
I mean, I spend a lot of time in this apartment.
Sure.
And on walks in the immediate North Hollywood area. So yeah, I miss, the other neighborhoods.
Yeah.
I'm moving Chloe from an apartment in North Hollywood to a house in North Hollywood over the
You're
next
really getting out there.
4 weeks.
Nice.
Gonna be right along the Chandler bike path.
That means nothing to me.
So
Cool.
there's a bike path, spoiler, that runs between North Hollywood and Burbank. And it's a nice, 3 miles one way.
Oh, nice.
Get your steps in.
When I live in Glendale, maybe I'll take the bike path to you and just show up and be like, sup.
Yeah, please. We'll record in person.
Nice.
Sure. You're just like, yeah, I'll be Chloe now.
I'm infiltrating this podcast. I'm going to be on every month now.
All the time.
Great. Love it. So, Clark, what is your second favorite scene?
I had one that was really small. I just like it a lot after Sandler finds out that he's in remission and that he's on the path to recovery. He goes back to his house. Well, he tries calling Ira from the car and he doesn't pick up. He gets back to his house and a housekeeper is there and she's fixing the pillows on one of his couches or something.
Mm-hmm.
And he tells her that he's better because she's the only person that's there. And she's kind of like, that's nice. Oh, and the pants you wanted are in your closet, by the way. Just this it's very telling. He does not have a relationship with her. He doesn't have a ton of relationships, period.
Yeah.
And it's a very lonely kind of hollow moment. And then Rogan walks in and he's like, I just heard. And then they start embracing. And again, the next, big moment in their rom-com that the two of them are in. It's just a nice sort of character moment.
That is a good scene. I like that. Yeah.
It was nice.
That wasn't on my list, but I appreciate that. It's a good scene. You're right.
Yeah.
Chloe,
Yes.
what is your second?
One of the first times they visit that European doctor and fuck with him, the IKEA joke unfortunately made me laugh. It's great.
Funny people have such a high opinion of themselves.
Oh, yeah.
Funny people? Ben, did you say?
Funny people?
I said funny people have such a high opinion of themselves. Oh, my God.
That's the title of the movie, Ben.
What?
The movie's called Funny People.
We're watching a movie? Ben,
they have comedy in Chicago.
They what?
I don't know which end of this bit I ended up on. The doctor has a great character arc. He goes from not understanding the jokes to then cracking them himself when he shows up at the little bar, at the little party.
Yeah.
Good shit.
It's cute. It's a good one. Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
My second, what am I saying? My second is the scene when Adam Sandler is sitting there after getting his diagnosis, just watching the 5 screens with all of his different performances in movies and stuff.
Yeah.
It is it's poignant because you're watching the young Adam Sandler and you're like, oh man, you've really come so far from this. And also because there is that kind of gray area between this character and Adam Sandler. And I don't know how gray it is, but you still feel the concept of that with this is young Adam Sandler performing and now he's Adam Sandler. And then you pull back and see that he's watching 5 screens and you're like, this is so stupid. I love this.
Yeah.
Right.
I enjoy that.
I think that, he's got to have a lot of trust in Apatow. They have to put a lot of trust in each other to make this movie in the first place.
Absolutely. Clark, what is your third scene?
I think just in terms of a scene of comedy that I enjoyed, I liked the Ray Romano Eminem beef.
Right, because they have Ray Romano and Eminem cameos. I forgot about that. This movie has a lot of cameos.
I think
it does.
Yeah, and I think those are probably my favorite cameos. Baby Bo Burnham as well, but
Baby Bo Burnham was good.
He's not a cameo because he was famous at the time.
Yeah.
He was on the up.
Yeah.
And Ray Romano and Eminem, obviously, at the height of their popularity, and I just like that silly little character moment where they might fight each other.
and adding to the many big, sick, funny people connections.
Yeah, you're right. It's funny. That's the exact third favorite scene I have written down too. Scene with Eminem, and Ira's like to Ray Romano, I thought everybody loved you. So stupid.
Yep.
So dumb. I love it.
Also, Eminem, just funny guy.
Yeah.
I like these little appearances. Him in the interview is a great use of Eminem.
Also, I definitely don't know Eminem super well, so I didn't immediately recognize that was Eminem. I'm like, who is this person supposed to be?
He's a recording artist. He does songs.
Okay. Yeah. You know what?
It's from Detroit.
And then, like, as the scene progressed, I was like,
did you lose yourself in the movie?
M? What?
I said, did you lose yourself in the movie?
I hate you. Why'd I do this to myself?
This is great.
I put the same energy and just like doubled it up on this podcast for some reason.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You're welcome.
Mm-hmm.
I guess. I seek this out, I guess.
You do. It's your fault.
Guys,
and do you have a third scene?
That was my third favorite scene as well.
Oh, terrific. We all have the
look
same
at
one.
us, the trifecta.
Nice.
I also like the end scene, I guess, with Ira and George when they're like sitting down. He's like, "These are my jokes," and then it pulls back and it's cute and it's like a rom-com. And I'm like, but yes, the Ray Romano Eminem scene was good. That was just quality comedy. Guys, who is your favorite non-protagonist character? And now, like, again, this movie kind of has two protagonists. So for this question, I'm going to remove both of them as options. Cannot be George, cannot be Ira. Who else?
Jonah Hill.
Okay.
I think everything he said made me laugh.
Even his stand-up?
Wasn't laugh a little bit less, but
okay,
still a little less cringy than the other ones.
Interesting.
Just a bit.
Clark, what about you?
I had Schwartzman.
I also had Schwartzman.
Nice.
He's a very specific character, and everything that he said, he's just such like a pompous, like he's up his own ass.
And I like,
but he's kind of pathetic too.
I like how Schwartzman plays characters because I feel like he has this very like thin line. He plays this like very interesting dichotomy between like you're saying, kind of pathetic, but also kind of an asshole, and also kind of like charming. And you're like, I get you, but also you kind of suck, but also like, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Those, like, the two of them, they are in a very important Judd Apatow role. Like, he's always got this sort of Greek chorus of roommates or buddies. Mm-hmm. Paul Rudd and Seth Rogen, 40-Year-Old Virgin. Seth Rogen has a bunch of roommates in Knocked Up. I'm trying to get there on IMDb. Jay Baruchel?
Oh.
Yes, the voice of Hiccup.
Yeah. Jonah Hill's in that. Jason Segel. Like, yeah, it's a tried and true sort of role. So, the drama that the two of them have with Jonah Hill eventually creeping his way into Schwartzman's TV show.
Yeah.
Did you know they shot 6 episodes of that?
They shot 6 episodes of that?
Yes.
I knew they shot scenes. What the fuck?
I was on the IMDb page for like the connection section of IMDb because I wanted to see all of the movies that they sample, the real movies that they put in here. And spin-off Yo Teach 2009 TV miniseries, 6 episodes produced.
I knew that NBC had created a webpage for Yo Teach on their website as marketing for this, but I just assumed that.
Well, then maybe it is fake. Maybe that I've just been punked by IMDb.
Or they created an actual web series, and that's what was on the webpage. We didn't dig deep enough for this podcast episode.
Right, exactly.
While we're figuring this out, I actually have something else to throw at you guys. I have my first trivia question of the day.
Oh boy.
I'm just spacing these out because I can. Guys, Jason Schwartzman. We're just talking about him.
Okay.
He's Hollywood royalty. Do you know what family he's from?
No clue.
The Coppolas.
Take a wild guess. Throw a classic Hollywood family name out there.
Coppola. I already said it.
Yeah.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh my God. Okay,
Jason
I was kidding.
Schwartzman is Francis Ford Coppola's nephew.
Oh my God, that's great.
Wow.
So he and Nick Cage are related.
Yeah. So this means that Jason Schwartzman, his mom is Talia Shire, who is Adrian Balboa in Rocky Balboa series, and Connie Corleone in the Godfather movies, which I've never seen, as I've mentioned on the podcast many times. But that means her brothers are Francis Ford Coppola, who is the father of Sofia Coppola and Roman Coppola, and her other brother is August Coppola, who is the father of Nicolas Cage. So Jason Schwartzman's cousins are Sofia Coppola and Nicolas Cage. Also, Chloe, Nick Cage is the nephew of Francis Ford Coppola. He comes from the Godfather family.
That's whack. Wow, I had no idea. Huh.
This is a wild family tree.
Just truly. Oh my God.
I always thought Jason Schwartzman was just like a random kid who like made it big off of Rushmore, the little indie film he was a part of. That is not true at all.
Yeah, he got that boost.
Look at that.
Good job, Clark. You really pulled that name out of your ass.
Thank you.
Wow.
I swear I didn't look it up.
The way you said it, I was pretty sure you didn't. You looked thoroughly
No. I
I don't fucking know the Coppolas exist.
Please, I have integrity. I will not cheat on the trivia questions.
I mean, if you did research,
This isn't a bit. I'm not. There's no more to this.
That's it.
Okay. So, yeah. So my favorite character is also Mark. Chloe's favorite character is Jonah Hill. The takeaway here is those roommates, comedy gold.
True.
Yeah. And they were roommates.
And they were roommates. Guys, I don't have any like movie specific questions for you. Normally I try and think of some, but like, I don't know. I don't know what to ask about this movie. How do you feel? I feel like a lot of my thoughts on this movie are going to come out in terms of like what I would change. Because a lot of my thoughts are like, I'm not so sure about that decision.
Fair.
So maybe we'll just get to that and see how we're feeling. But until then, do you have any like other general thoughts on the movie? Any of you?
Totally misread one of the first scenes of the movie because we are introduced to him in a montage at his house, and he has there's pile of scripts on his like kitchen island, the yes pile and no pile, and then the next scene is him walking through the lobby of what we learned to be his doctor's office, but I thought it was going to be his agent's office because I swear to God that's the CAA building.
I thought so too.
And the shot right before that was him reading scripts. So this movie's a wild ride. I was thrown in the first 10 minutes.
Your
directed by M. Night
knowledge is too
Shyamalan.
much.
Yeah.
I've never been to the CAA building, so I wouldn't know whatsoever.
I had
Chloe?
an interview there once.
Ooh.
Didn't
there
go
you
well.
All right.
I applied for a 1 week internship there once and didn't get it. So,
Yeah.
Nice.
we're all vibing out here.
Cool.
I loved the James Taylor cameo also, by the way. We forgot to mention that,
yeah.
but I fucking love James Taylor. He's so great.
Oh,
Yeah.
Ira was all excited
steals
when he
the fuck
saw him, and I
Facebook
was
line.
like, mood.
I get it.
I think that scene got a laugh out of me because you have the montage leading up to it where they're, getting on their private plane and you've got the James Taylor song playing in the background.
Yeah.
And you think it's, soundtrack.
Yeah.
And then no, it's diegetic.
Him.
Here's actual James Taylor.
Yeah. That was great. That was a really good transition. I enjoy that a lot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And also just imagine being paid $300,000 to do one stand-up set and getting a private jet to fly you to it.
Ridiculous.
MySpace
Tough to be the king.
did not predict its wealth well.
No. Nope.
In the funny people universe, that's why MySpace goes under. They're at a shareholders meeting a couple years down the line. Like, we shouldn't have fucking paid Sandler $300,000 for that.
We paid
could've
James
kept the
Taylor and all
company
you really
going,
did was say, fuck Facebook? Like, guys, now we need to fuck Facebook just to make money.
Yeah.
We're their bitch.
Social Network comes out a year after Funny People.
Oh my God. It
God,
does.
that is...
Who had the
back to
last
back.
laugh there?
Wow.
Mark having I feel bad that Mark didn't get the job with Tobey Maguire. Could have worked with the best Spider-Man. I'm sorry, Mark. This is just my excuse to say that Tobey Maguire is the best Spider-Man. I want to throw that in there.
Yeah, I'm on your Twitter too. We don't have to talk about it.
And people who listen to this podcast might not be. If you want to be, follow at Mr. _BentoBox on Twitter. But My point is Tom McGuire's the best Spider-Man.
It's embarrassing. I'm embarrassed to be here.
I'm sorry.
Good.
Yeah. It's me every week.
You're also friends with me. Like, I'm so sorry for both of you.
Yeah. Yeah. We all make mistakes in our lives. It's fine.
It's true.
Yeah.
Anyway, before we dive into some of our games, some of the things we would change, a couple other details about this movie. Some funny facts, if you will. The video at the beginning of the movie, the prank calls, are an actual video from when Judd Apatow and Adam Sandler lived together. And the two other people in that video are a young Ben Stiller and a young Janine Garofalo from Wet Hot American Summer. Okay. And that was like just an actual video of them fucking around when they were kids. Or not kids, but like, youths, 20-somethings.
Nice. You should look familiar. Okay.
A lot of the stand-up sets were actual sets the actors wrote and performed at the Orpheum Theater one night under the title A Night of Funny People. And it was fun. Yeah, and it was like an actual thing. People could come for free. They had Patton Oswalt too, so it was not just the people that were filmed.
Nice.
And it was like an actual stand-up they did, and they just set up 6 cameras, filmed it, and then put it in the movie.
Sounds fun.
I already mentioned that a website for Yo Teach was created on NBC.com. The movie came out in July 2009. It has obviously a 69% on Rotten Tomatoes. However, it was named to the top 10 of the year lists by the New Yorker and the New York Times. Interesting decisions.
Interesting.
I find myself curious about what other movies came out in 2009.
The second Transformers movie, which is the worst one.
Gross.
Yeah.
It made $71.5 million on its $75 million budget. So not great as things go. Maybe because it was a 2.5 hour long movie.
Yeah.
Guys. All right. Do you want to hear A.O. Scott's top movies of 2009 from the New York Times? Where the Wild Things Are.
Sure.
Oh, excuse me. These are the top 19 movies.
Oh, okay.
Hurt Locker.
Okay.
Which won Best Picture.
Yep.
In the Loop, which I don't know.
Is that the Peter Capaldi?
Yes.
Yeah.
Peter Capaldi and James Gandolfini.
Yeah, it's the spinoff. It's like the movie spinoff of Thick of It, the show from the Veep creator.
I will take your word for it. You got Summer Hours, which I don't know.
Neither do I.
Nope.
Of Time and the City.
Don't know what that is either.
Nope.
I don't think these movies exist. Okay, Up in the Air with Clooney. There's Funny People. Bright Star, which I don't know.
Nope.
They're padding this list. Medicine for Melancholy. Precious, based on the novel Push by Sapphire.
Oh my
Coraline.
Okay.
Ah, yes. Good choice.
Avatar.
Oh, yeah.
Sure. Man,
Naturally.
Avatar came out in 2009.
District 9. Great film.
Good movie, yeah.
Serious Man, which I have not seen, but
Nor
Coen Brothers. Anvil, the story of Anvil. Goodbye Solo. Sugar. Gamora. And the Bader Meinhof Complex.
I didn't know 2009 had a Han Solo and Gamora spinoff.
Crazy.
Do you want to know what the New Yorker's actual top 10 films of 2009 was that included funny people?
Yeah.
Yes.
We have The Hurt Locker, won Best Picture, as you already mentioned, so that makes sense.
Okay.
We have Adventureland. We have The White Ribbon. We have The Messenger. We have Up. That one makes sense, even if the first 15 minutes of it are really what pulls that movie along. We have The Last Station with Christopher Plummer as Leo Tolstoy. We have Me and Orson Welles, a movie that I guess Zac Efron was in and was animated by Richard Linklater's obvious love of the theater. Oh, that doesn't mean animated by. Okay, never mind. Continuing on. We have another Schwarzenegger movie, Fantastic Mr. Fox, and we have Up in the Air. These are interestingly very different lists.
Yeah, no. I just look up 2009 movies and look up the blockbusters. Like, oh, okay, yes, these movies I know. Thank you.
Other movies that came out that year include An Education, 500 Days of Summer, Public Enemies.
Oh, hey. That's surprising that didn't end up on either of those lists.
Yeah, I feel like that movie was a big deal when it came out. And now no one talks about it.
Yeah.
But it was a big deal then. Yeah. 500 Days of Summer is a better movie than Funny People.
Glorious
Bastards.
Did that come up on any list? That came out.
No.
What the fuck is Inglourious Bastards not doing on these lists?
What are these lists doing?
Nah, Funny People.
Funny People.
That's the best movie of 2009.
Forget Quentin Tarantino's best movie ever made. We need.
Speaking of movies that Adam Sandler was going to be in,
Watchmen.
Was he going to be in?
Lovely Bones.
That's not that great.
No. Hey, Adam Sandler was going to be the Bear Jew, the character that Eli Roth plays. Yeah, with the bat.
Interesting. And look at him now, making funny people instead.
The fool.
Yeah.
The fool. It's fine. He has Uncut Gems. We've all seen the art house Adam Sandler now. We can't unsee it. Actually, I haven't seen that movie yet. I should watch it.
Oh my! Please, Ben.
I will.
Let's talk about Uncut Gems.
Well, are there gems?
Ben, I'm not going to spoil them.
Are they uncut?
I'm not going to tell you of it. I'm not going to fucking
like
tell you about the status of the gems. That may not. Chloe, shut up.
I'm sorry. It's killing me.
First rule of Uncut Gems: you don't talk about the uncut gems.
I saw a tweet that was like, "This movie is just female Fight Club," and I'm trying to think of what movie it is because now I'm thinking about Fight Club and I can't remember. Fuck.
Booksmart.
Yes, Booksmart is female Fight Club. Booksmart is actually the female version of every movie. Superbad,
right.
Booksmart. Saving Private Ryan, Booksmart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anyway, you know what time it is? It is time for Nailed It with Chloe Naylor.
Okay.
Chloe, rate the sexiness of Eric Bana's character Clark.
Oh, okay. He's Australian. I already get some bonus points there. Yes.
Okay.
He's pretty sexy.
This has been Nailed It with Chloe Naylor. Moving on.
And now we bring on to the big part, executive action, where we talk about one or two things we might want to change about this movie. Maybe they're small things. Maybe they're big things. Maybe this movie's so fucking long. The options are endless. Clark, as our guest of honor, once again, what would be a thing you change about this movie?
I mean, I already kind of opened with this, but the peppering in the Leslie Mann story throughout the entire movie. I honestly feel like this movie could have been the exact same runtime, but if they had just spent the scenes in a slightly different order, then it wouldn't feel like it comes to such a halt when we're at the house in the back act of the movie, in the Apatow fourth act. I don't know. I think I'd also Eric Bana seems like such a tool in this movie, hotness notwithstanding. But if we are to come to the conclusion that Adam Sandler breaking up this family would be a bad thing to do, which is the stance that the movie takes and the stance that we are meant to take, I think it would complicate things a little bit more if he was like a decent guy.
Yeah.
True. Like
if it was more of a case of I agree with you, because I feel like the entire time watching, I'm like, yeah, he's cheating on her, or at least she thinks he is. Mm-hmm. So is this that big of a, she should probably leave him anyway. And I agree with you, if it was more of a, maybe she isn't feeling it. And if she's not feeling it, then obviously that's a problem in the marriage. But by making it this very clear cut, he did this thing, it makes it hard to side with him. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm triple dipping here, but this is something that I just thought about when we were in our recap. How would this play out if we didn't tell Leslie Mann that Sandler was getting better? If he continued to make her think that he was sick all the way through them sleeping together, and then Rogan maybe still spills the beans in front of the kids because they're getting upset and he just wants to calm them down, and then that moment is a revelation for both Bana and Mann at the same time that my god, Sandler is.
Yeah, it also you definitely lose a lot of narrative tension once she finds out, because yes, you have the tension of oh, will Bana find out, which kind of stressed me out, but it's but I'm also not emotionally invested in Bana's relationship with Sandler at all.
Yeah.
And Leslie knows, and she seems like she wants to leave him anyway, so it's not that big of a deal. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you. It definitely feels like a lot of treading water once we hit the Leslie Mann arc.
Rogan's got that good scene in the car when they're on their way back, and he's saying, "You had a near-death experience and you learned nothing. You moved backwards." I think that while it would make the film darker, but if Sandler continued to leverage the sickness or the supposed sickness, it would it would lend more weight to that aspect of the movie, that, you know, this guy, you know, has some really serious issues that create conflict in this film.
Yeah. We need to lean fully into the BoJack Horseman of it all.
Oh God.
Like, yeah, we do. Like this washed up, once famous, like kind of shitty guy. And BoJack Horseman is a show that is never afraid to be like, yeah, BoJack sucks. And he does really fucked up things despite not wanting to, and despite wanting to be better. And this movie kind of like this movie is very similar in concept, but it doesn't lean into that as heavily. And I think it needs to.
Yeah, they share some space there.
Yeah. Chloe, what would you change?
Dude, make it shorter.
I agree with you. Like,
2.5
it needs to be shorter. It needs to be.
Lot.
It needs to be 2 hours.
I mean, 2 hours.
This movie needs to be 2 hours.
You can easily shave off a half hour.
Mm-hmm.
But
and like there's some writing rework, like script reworking that I think would need to be done to do that. Not just like editing things down, but I do think this story arc does not require 2.5 hours.
Yeah, no. Feels like 2 movies once like Leslie comes in. That's a separate movie than the George and Ira stuff.
And there's just like scenes that take a long time too, like the girls they bring back, and then you have the entire like length of like he sleeps with one of them and then the other one. And I'm like, I'm not saying this is bad and doesn't serve anything. It does. I think it serves their characters, but it's not long. Like it's quite long for the arc we're getting.
Just a bit.
And then the Aubrey Plaza storyline just kind of like pitters out at the end.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay.
He gets
it's not really about them anyway.
They end up together, I guess.
Like, okay.
So it's like, why is this even here if it's really about this rom-com with him and George and like the job, does he need the Aubrey Plaza side art story? I feel like he doesn't.
Right. Seems a little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of tightening up I think that could be done.
100%.
The thing I would change, aside from shortening it, because that was definitely the first thing I wanted to say, because God, this is so long, is like Clark, you were kind of talking about this, where there's this weird undertone of like Ira's kind of selfish and shitty.
Yeah.
And we don't fully acknowledge that. And I would like to see that a bit more acknowledged. I think that would play interestingly off of like George is kind of like the rich shitty guy, but Ira's kind of like the poor shitty guy. And yes, you can see a lot more of the shittiness, and you can sympathize with the shittiness when it's the poor person, and you can like see more of it when they're rich because they have the power, and you can also still ignore it because they're rich. But like that doesn't mean that Ira's should be off the hook. But also there was the weird moment when he gets into the fight with Jonah Hill about the money thing. And in the beginning of the movie, I kind of got the vibe of like, oh yeah, maybe like Jonah Hill isn't the best friend, and he's kind of like, he gets everything really easily, and he's kind of a little full of himself in terms of jokes. But it doesn't give me enough information to be like, okay, I could see why Ira would like do this to his friend. Like I could see how he could be like jealous of the position that Jonah Hill has been in. And then you find out like, oh, Ira's been working his ass off at this job, and Jonah Hill has his parents paying for everything. And I'm like, oh, I kind of get that. Like, it's not right. Yeah. But I understand how you could see this guy who is getting things and who is succeeding and who doesn't really have to worry about anything anyway. And now this opportunity arises. And even if you're thinking, and you might not be thinking like, oh, I don't want my friend to get this. You might just be thinking like, my friend always is the one who's chosen. So if both of us show up, maybe I'll lose the opportunity entirely to Jonah. And I think that all would be a lot. I think it kind of is his thought process, but we don't learn that until after they fight with each other. And I'm like, why did I not know this? Like, why didn't you just give me a bit more of their dynamic and like why he would do this and like the jealousy he feels? Because it's just a weird arc without that. It's like they needed a conflict in the middle.
Yeah.
So they're like, I guess he's lying to his roommate. And I'm like, okay. Anyway, those are the changes that I would make. Does anyone else have any changes they want to throw in there before we move on? Nah. Okay. Yeah. So that brings us to our second trivia question, our only other trivia question. Guys, Adam Sandler has made many movies. Been in a lot of them.
True. Oh, sorry. I thought that was the question. Okay, continue.
Okay, so 1 point to Clark. Now moving on.
All right.
So Adam Sandler's made many movies. Many of the movies he's made has been referenced by respected film critics as one of the worst movies ever made. How many movies has Adam Sandler been in that have been referenced as one of the worst movies ever made?
Ooh.
Bonus points if you can name them.
Ooh.
I think I have my guesses.
I'm going to give Chloe a second to think, and then I'm going to do like 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1 until the end.
Okay.
But first, say the numbers you think first at the same time. I'm going to count down. This is going to work.
Yeah, right?
Okay. 3, 2, 1.
5?
5.
Okay.
Damn, interesting. Okay. Which movies do you think they are? Clark, what is one you think?
Jack and Jill.
Damn, I was going to say that one. Was the first one.
Chloe, what's one you think?
Oh, God. Pixels.
Okay. So far, Jack and Jill is correct. Pixels is not.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Also, the 5 was wrong.
Okay. I had Pixels as one of my 5 as well.
Okay. This is all based off of a Wikipedia list, by the way. So I can't guarantee that there hasn't been some other critic who said this at some point.
Gotcha.
What was the second one you said?
I said Grown Ups 2.
Nope. Although I've seen that movie, and yes.
Yeah.
Chloe.
Bedtime stories.
How dare you?
I mean.
Also not that.
Okay.
I'm just going to tell you the number, I guess. It's 2. There's one other movie we're looking for.
Oh, shoot.
Oh. Is it Little Nicky?
It is not Little Nicky. Although, also probably a valid one to be on that list.
Oh, what?
He's made a lot of movies, guys.
Yeah.
I forgot Little Nicky existed, and frankly, I didn't need that back in my life.
There's one that came out on Netflix recently. What was that called?
Oh my God. Ridiculous 6?
But that was also one. No, Do-Over.
No.
Okay.
Murder Mystery.
Oh yeah, that one. No.
You're all didn't even Adam Sandler movies.
Do you guys want to fold?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I'm thinking.
I already got my point from Jack and Jill, so I'm pulling ahead here.
That's fair.
It is That's My Boy.
Oh, okay.
With Andy Samberg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now I have a follow-up question though. That's like a continuation of this. So Chloe could still pull it back.
Okay.
He has also produced movies that are on this list. 2 of those are the movies you already mentioned because he produces most of the movies he's in, Jack and Jill, and That's My Boy. How many movies has he produced? Bearing in mind that we already have at least 2.
How many that have been the worst, or just how many
that are on the worst
on this
movies
list of worst movies ever made, as deemed by Wikipedia?
How about? Are we seeing the numbers at the same time, or just whatever?
You can just throw the numbers out.
7.
I'm gonna say 3. Just one more apart from the 2 that we've already talked about.
You're way too high, Chloe.
I figured.
Clark is close, but not exactly right. It's 4. What movies do you think those are?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's fair. Chloe, are there any names you want to throw out that you think might be one? They're not movies I would think of, but they exist. You might have seen them. I'm sorry if you have.
I don't know. Probably not, honestly.
It's fine. This is the bonus question anyway. I didn't expect you guys to have this one as easily. Right. Jack and Jill was really the easy question.
Dunkachinos.
There was an interview with him where he's like, yeah, I like being in bad movies now because I want to see if I can pull them up from bad to kind of okay.
Pacino said this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, good for him.
He was like, I view it as a challenge. If I'm in a good movie, it's already going to be good. What am I doing?
Right.
The movies were Bucky Larson and The Masters of Disguise.
Okay, Masters of Disguise all accept. Bucky Larson is not a real movie. That's a Harry Potter character.
Do you know what Bucky Larson is?
No clue.
charms professor from Durmstrang.
So this bit's continuing. Bucky Larson is a movie with Nick Swardson in the lead, which I think tells you a lot just right off the bat.
Interesting.
And it came out in like the early 2010s, I think. And I have not seen it, but if I remember the trailer for it correctly, because I remember like my dumb friends in high school were like, oh, look at this. This looks funny. I think it's about like this teenager who like 18-year-old who has a giant dick, but he's a nerd and he ends up in porn because of it or something. I don't know. It doesn't look good.
Doesn't sound
And based
good.
on this list, it isn't good.
I'm so glad that you carved out time to talk about that.
You're welcome. The post
with us running an hour and a half into our funny people episode.
Geez.
Yeah, it's fine. We're nearing the end. Honestly, these episodes usually go longer. Count yourself lucky.
You know, that's true.
This isn't 2 hours.
Hey, maybe I'm the taskmaster. I'm keeping you guys on track.
Sure. Tell yourself that. Or you just have like a limited amount of things. Or you just have a limited amount of things to say about funny people.
Right, which is my choice. So
that's true. Okay, fine.
I picked a film that's, economical.
Okay. Guys.
And have me back. When's foreign film one?
July?
Okay.
Anyway, guys, this has been Funny People. Do we have any closing thoughts before we wrap up the episode? Clark, again, as our guest of honor, what are your closing thoughts on this movie?
I think it's more good than bad. I think that, it's recency bias. The fact that it doesn't, that it fumbles in the last half an hour sort of like colors the rest of the movie. Mm-hmm. But I think overall it's pretty solid. I think honestly, just what we've discussed has, lifted it in my estimation a little bit, just in looking at the whole thing in context.
Nice. I'm glad we could make you appreciate it.
I think it's got some of the best and worst parts of a Judd Apatow movie. If you don't like him already, this isn't going to bring you on board, but I'm a fan anyway. So, there's a lot that I like about it.
What about you, Chloe?
It was kind of funny.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
I'm sorry. I got nothing really much to add other than it had its moments for me. Overall, it's okay.
I think this is like I agree with Clark. It's an interesting dichotomy of like the worst of Judd Apatow and the best of Judd Apatow, because I think that the early stages of this movie are probably my favorite Judd Apatow that I've seen, where it is like very kind of melancholic and kind of thoughtful and mournful, and this interesting like character study and this interesting dynamic between the assistant and the established famous person. And then midway through, or maybe the like 2/3 of the way through, we hit the Laura storyline more, and he like finds out that he's healthy. And I feel like the longer we get into this movie, the less it's about the things that I liked about the movie. But it's still an hour and a half in, I still very much enjoyed the movie. Like, we hadn't hit those points yet. It's just that the movie's so long that it holds you in that weaker part for a while. But I like it. I enjoy it. It was not a bad time. I wish I could have ended it like 30 minutes earlier, but
no. I'm like, I almost want to go back. The director's commentary has Apatow, Seth Rogen, and Adam Sandler.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that would just be a fun time. I'm too close to it now. Let's give it a couple months.
Then I'll be ready to
pop back in Funny People. I had a thought this morning, like, I woke up, I ate, I have enough time. If I started right now, I could watch it again.
You're like, I'll know everything.
Oh, jeez.
There's nothing they can say.
Exactly. I am Funny People 2009.
Guys,
let's wrap it up. Let's get out.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Guys, if people liked this movie, or liked some of this movie at least, what would you recommend they watch? Clark, take it away.
The rest of the Apatow filmography. I knocked up 4-Year-Old Virgin. Big Sick is fresh in my mind because I just listened to your episode.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
It also has some meta stand-up commentary stuff. Or stand-up commentary, Christ. Stand-up comedy! I'm recording in a closet. It's all recycled air at this point.
Yeah, no, there's definitely like that. There's that like the cinematic universe of The Big Sick and this movie of, you know, Ray Romano and stand-up comedy, and like Judd Apatow kind of based this story on like him when he was trying to make it in Hollywood. And he didn't exactly, like, from doing my research, what he said was, I didn't really have a bad mentor figure. So I kind of found a way to kind of force a bad mentor figure by being like, okay, what if you take this person who's like kind of okay, but then put them through like a death crisis and it pushes them to their shittiest behavior. So there's definitely like those elements. What was the other connection? Bo Burnham's in both.
Yeah.
Yep.
Claire, what would you recommend?
If you want to go the Adam Sandler route, you can watch like Grown Ups or 50 First Dates.
You could do that.
You could do that. Or you could watch something a little better, like Popstar.
Popstars are a good pull.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of referenced it already, but I think if you like this, watching BoJack Horseman would be a very good pick. I think it has like the steeped in LA references-ness, and as a person yeah, that I love that.
BoJack Horseman, I think, is the best showbiz media that I've ever seen. Like, it's BoJack Horseman singing in the rain.
Okay.
Right there.
It's high praise. Hollywood likes to make things about itself. There's a lot of Hollywood-based media.
Yeah. Ben, have me back for Foreign Film Month. I want to talk about Day for Night. It's the best movie about making movies.
Okay. We'll see.
That was it.
That
was my teaser.
That'll be okay. So my foreign film that I want to talk about is Om Shanti Om, which is a Bollywood movie about Bollywood. So that could be like
that's fun.
A meta foreign film. It's like it's foreign films, but also movies about their own industry.
Nice.
Yeah. Day for Night's French.
There you go. So is it French about French filmmaking, or is it French about Hollywood?
It's a French director who is stuck making a Hollywood-esque melodrama.
Interesting. Okay. I fuck with that.
So both.
Okay. Interesting. Nice. We could get someone to come in and talk about Pain and Glory. Really hit the like trifecta.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, and I'd also recommend like I know you already said The Big Sick. Yeah, I'd recommend The Big Sick if you want like specifically a movie, because I think there's many similarities. Anyway, guys, before we go, what is one cool thing you have done or seen this week? I realize we're all trapped in our homes, so the options are limited.
Yeah.
But Clark, what's something you've done or seen this week?
Don't do me first. Let me think.
Chloe, what's something you've done or seen this week?
I have caught up on Schitt's Creek. The finale was just last week. Series finale.
How is that show?
It's really good. I highly recommend it.
Okay. I tried watching the first episode and I was like, this is okay.
I liked it.
I also realized that pilots are hard to make.
That's true.
Good.
It gets better. It's really heartwarming. It's genuine. Actually, funny in some moments. Yeah, I liked it a lot.
Kinda.
Kind of funny. Ha ha ha.
Yeah. I just watched the Steve Jobs movie, which is also a movie that Seth Rogen is in.
Nice.
It's
I want to check that out.
It's good. It feels very much like a stage play, which makes sense because Aaron Sorkin got his start writing stage plays, but it's like it's set in three different. It's this weird thing because like the setting for Steve Jobs is basically three stories. One when Steve Jobs is behind. It's like three backstage stories. One right before the announcement of the first Macintosh. One right before the announcement of the next Cube when Steve Jobs had been fired. And then one right before the announcement of the iMac for the first time when Steve Jobs had been rehired by Apple. Spoiler.
And they change film styles every time.
They do, yeah. They change film styles. There's a lot of really interesting like filmmaking stuff that goes on. And the writing, like the dialogue is fantastic. It's like it's Aaron Sorkin, of course it is. But it definitely has this weird thing where they're like trying to condense so much character stuff into this that after a while you're like, really? Every backstage moment has all this character revelation happening at once. And like I think it would work as a stage play because like theater stretches your believability to begin with. But with movies, with that format being a bit more realistic inherently, it got to a point where I was like, this is odd. Like, I like this movie, but this is odd. I also read the Steve Jobs autobiography, so it's not like I was like learning things. So I was like, how are you going to do this?
Gotcha.
Yeah. Anyway, that's what I saw. Clark, did you figure out what you did?
Gracie and I had sort of a fun little like double feature. It wasn't the same day, but it was within a couple of days of each other.
Sure.
Oh Brother, Where Art Thou and Ocean's 11.
Ooh. So
George Clooney starring little crime movies. Very quirky, very charming. Yeah, that was good to watch those two.
I feel like quarantine is pushing a lot of these like weird double feature or like weird themed viewing ideas. Sure. And I enjoy it, even if it's accidental. Like we're talking about Seth Rogen in this movie, and I'm like, yeah, I just saw Seth Rogen and Steve Jobs, and it is interesting to see Seth Rogen go from this kind of like, you know, comedic, more of a performance to like he's playing an actual person in a much more dramatic movie, and like he's good in it. He's a good drama actor. I want more drama, Seth Rogen.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, this has been that Wannabe film class. Clark, words. Clark,
try it again.
Clark, thank you so much for joining us. Before we go, we have a couple things to wrap up with. One, the most important one is next week's movie. Chloe.
Okay.
As you know, I reached out to the audience and I was like, hey, what movie should we watch for this audience pick week? Because Logan's gone now, so we have an extra week.
Yeah.
Heard nothing.
Cool.
People, useless.
Awesome.
So I have looked up a bunch of movies. I've listed 4, and I want to see what you think of these options.
Okay.
So 1, I also want to hear what Clark thinks of these options. He's our tiebreaker vote now.
Okay.
1, Tom Hooper's hit movie, Les Miserables.
Okay.
2, Point Break.
Okay.
3,
original or remake?
Original.
Got it.
3, American Psycho. And 4, Snakes on a Plane. These are our choices. Do you have a leaning?
Fascinating lineup you have here.
Yep.
I haven't seen any of them.
Neither have I.
Okay.
I think that's kind of the fun of it.
Wait, you haven't seen Les Mis, Ben?
Oh, fuck, you're right. I have seen Les Mis.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I blocked that out.
Okay. Oh, God.
Tom Hooper makes decisions.
Jeez. That's another
Here's what I can
one,
say.
isn't it?
It's not short. I think like Point Break and American Psycho. So I know American Psycho. Clark, have you seen American Psycho?
I have.
Is it like horror-esque?
I would not say horror.
Okay.
No. I mean, there are some gory scenes. I think it's really interesting. It's been a long time since I've seen it. It lives in sort of the same neighborhood as Fight Club for me.
Okay.
Where it's about toxic masculinity, but of a different decade than Fight Club's. No, wait, they came out within a couple of years of each other.
They're pretty close.
But it's a different...
Late 90s, yeah.
But American Psycho is, very into like materialism and yuppie and like corporate culture.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be my pick out of those 4. Just because I want to see it again. I think Les Mis has been talked about to death.
Yeah, probably.
Lindsay Ellis just did her Cats video, and she talked about Les Mis for a while in that, so that's fresh in my mind. Snakes on a Plane, certainly very pulpy. Point Break is pretty beloved.
Yeah.
That's a classic. I haven't seen it.
I think Point Break would be my vote, partly because I know Chloe, I don't know if you'd be good with American Psycho because it is gory. And I know it's not like super your vibe.
No, not really at all.
Yeah. I feel like Point Break could be a fun one for us.
Okay, with Point Break, that's got Keanu Reeves,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
It does,
Okay.
yeah. Okay.
Sure.
Point Break?
Point Break.
Dope.
Okay.
Sounds great. Okay, so next week we will be talking about Point Break. Sorry, Clark, American Psycho has been stabbed, bleeding out. It's dead.
Got him.
Funny.
Jokes.
We're a bunch of funny people here.
We've been recording.
2009.
We've been recording for
almost 2 hours.
so long.
Yep.
Not just that. I mean, like besides that, also D&D.
Yep. I have not.
I've been on for we've been on.
The Royal
for
We
so
has
long.
been recording.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, where can people find you if they've enjoyed us on this podcast? Clark, once again, final time as the guest of honor. Take it away. Where can people find you?
I'm not incredibly active on social media. If you must find me on Twitter, my handle is puns for sale, puns_FOR_SAIL.
Because you like pirates.
Honestly, you know what? Find me on Vimeo. Watch Funny Head, my senior thesis film from LMU. My Vimeo is just Clark Eglinton, CLARK EGLINTON. Find all of that great, funny people inspired content.
Plug that shit, man.
That didn't show up at all in the final product.
Claire, what about you?
Can find me everywhere. That's on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Letterboxd, Twitch, all of that. I'm Echo Clo, basically everywhere.
You can find me at Mr_BentoBox on Twitter, at Mr. BentoBox, everywhere else, Instagram, Letterboxd, TikTok. And no, that's everything. Yeah, that's everywhere I exist. Yeah. Guys, if you have liked this, you can support us by rating and reviewing on iTunes. You can subscribe to us on whichever platform you prefer. YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, obviously. You can also support That Nerdy Site at thatnerdysite.com, where you can read the articles that are written by people like me and others. You can also listen to the podcasts that are made. You can also support That Nerdy Site financially by going to patreon.com/thatnerdysite. This has been That Wannabe Film Class. Clark, once again, thank you so much.
Thank you, Ben. I think the real funny people were the friends we made along the way.
And on that, we end it.
Love it.